So hello, my name's Dan Shockley, and I'm going to be talking about AS10, the MXF for production workflow. And Michael Cotter helped me put together this presentation, so it will be a good one, I promise. So when we start off, we look at AS10, and before we started just creating specifications, because we like to create specifications, we wanted to come up with the problem statement. And the problem statement really is, and I'm not going to read these, I'll let you read those, but the problem statement really is that there's lots of ambiguity in the MXF specification. And vendors can implement those specifications, mainly developers are implementing those specifications, and sometimes the implementation is a bit different. And also there is some issues with and limitations with how they actually implement those for downstream production applications. So what we wanted to do was come up with a method to actually have a consistent specification for implementation, something that we could also do testing against and verify that that implementation is correct and what we expect downstream for all the downstream applications. So we came up with the AS10 specification, and what we envisioned was this single file that could traverse through the entire production workflow. And there would not need to be any type of manipulation of that file. It could be through camera acquisition, through server acquisition, go into the edit server, and editors could then edit that media without having to do anything beyond pulling the media onto the timeline. You could edit it, you could create the same type of file, and then you could play that file out, and you could distribute that to your other digital partners, and you could archive that file, and then obviously you could fulfill it and go back through the same workflow. And you didn't transcode the file, you didn't have to manipulate that file whatsoever. So time to air is critical in the news organization, and so this helps you get that media and get that show on the air very quickly, and with a good format, and it also looks good. So our approach was, we went to AMWA, we got the AS10 specification project spun up. It is based on standard MXF specifications through SMPTE. All of them are normatively referenced in the specification, but it's really based on the Sony RDD9, which is the core of the specification. And Sony has actually helped us with a lot of this project, and we'll actually demo one component that Sony built for us. But it is based on RDD9. And then there was an AS10 technical working group that in the specification tried to limit any of the assumptions that a developer could actually make on the implementation of those other normatively referenced specifications. So we draw attention to the issues that you'll see in, say, for example, 377M, and how you could actually implement that consistently in the application workspace. So as part of what we always do in AMWA is we have a reference implementation, and AS10 includes that. And what we chose to do, which we're doing now on the other projects as well, is we're building the specification and we're building the reference implementation as we build the specification. That gives us a chance to check it as we go through each one of the specification refs. And so they're royalty-free compiled libraries, and what we have so far is a wrap AS10 where we can take MPEG and WAV files, and we can wrap those to match the specification that we're developing. And then we have the validation of Validate AS10, and it analyzes and reports on the compliance. It also can unwrap the media as well. Some of the operating points is right now what we use at Turner and CNN is 35 megabit XD-CAM long GOP, MPEG 2 420, and we're typically 4 channels, but we have the capability of going up to 16. And there will be some shims that give us that capability to go up to actually 16 channels. You'll see that we're also doing 50 megabit 422 raster of 920, and we're also working on the 16 channel in a 16-bit rate. So some of the specification improvements and some of the things that are unique to the AS10 specification is the MXF specification and the descriptors that we have in that specification. That's one of the to-dos. We need to establish what those descriptors actually will be in terms of required. Obviously the 377M descriptors will be in there, but we'll include some additional ones that work with our production systems downstream. And then we also need to define the metadata schema, or how we're actually going to store metadata that is significant for the production workflows of the organizations that want to embrace AS10. So that's definitely a piece of work that we're going to be doing here in the very near future. One of the key aspects of AS10 is the capability for us to actually edit the media while it's being created, while it's ingesting. And so lots of vendors implement this capability in different ways. We want to have a best practice and have a specification around the best way to implement that so that we can have a best of breed environment and we can edit while ingesting, which is very important to the news industry. And then also we want to advance the capability of creating machine readable shims. So supporters and implementers of the AS10 project are Sony. Sony developed the Validate AS10 application. MetaGlue has developed the Wrap AS10 application. We've got MOG, JVC, Harmonic, Adobe, CNN, and NRK are the media production companies. We're looking at bringing Canon along as well. As part of the AS10 specification, what we want to do also is this new initiative that we have at AMWA, and that is the interoperability for real. And basically, we want to make sure that we can give the vendors the capability of saying they support a particular specification and also certify them on that support of the specification. So that the idea of having interoperability across vendors, and you'll probably see this in Brad's speak as well, the capability of having interoperability is very key to the success of AS10. And we also have Edgar Shane, who'll be leading that particular initiative on behalf of the vendors, and so that we can get that off the ground and going.